And finally, tonight, the money is flying, or at least it's about to. We all heard over the weekend Shohei Otani, $700 million over 10 years with the Los Angeles Dodgers. And I know my initial reaction was caught off guard, and I said, what the hell? This guy has never even played in the playoffs. He just had an injury that's going to probably preclude him from pitching this next season. He has as many playoff home runs and RBIs as I do. So what are the Dodgers thinking? But then I thought about it, and he's going to make them more money hand over fist than they could ever pay him. They're going to be in LA. He's in LA. So, you're going to have your Asian market, your Japanese contingent supporting him, and just having his face everywhere is going to make that money back. But I wanted to focus on something different. So I was listening to Nicole Auerbach, the Power Hour, and there was some talk about the new football subdivision that's being proposed. Charlie Baker, president of the NCAA, came out, laid down a foundation, and what could be the point of this? Because how many schools can pay the players the money that it would take for this to be a legit operation? So, like for instance, Oregon State and Washington State without the Pac-12 affiliation, can they afford that? I know they're going to possibly get this $400 million of Pac-12 money potentially. I know Washington appealed, so it's still hung up in the air. But, as I look through this, can some of these schools afford this? So from some of the guidelines and bullet points that they ran down, it sounds as though to be a part of this, the school has to be able to pay at least $30,000 per player. They need to have at least half the athletes getting paid in the school. But then what do you do conference-wise? That was the thing that stood out to me about their conversation. So, for example, you're in the ACC, Clemson, Florida State, they got money. They can get the money. Florida State's been a little bit in the red over the last couple of years or so, but, they can get the money. But what do you do with, like, say, is Wake Forest willing to do that and pay that type of money? We know SMU, Cal, and Stanford can do it, but do they want to? SMU probably, but does Cal want to spend that type of money on football directly? Because right now, where the schools have it made is that the NIL money is not directly coming from them. It's coming from these collectives. So if the schools have to be on the hook for this money, how does that look? Do we start to see conferences break up? As I mentioned, some of these schools that either aren't willing or can't. Is this a way to phase out some of the G5? Like, can the MAC schools afford this? Akron, Kent State, unless Akron's going to get money from LeBron. Central Michigan, Western Michigan, can these schools afford to do that? Now, the other thing that caught my eye, and I got to pull this up because I couldn't even believe this, but apparently the one and only Marvin Harrison Jr., Biletnikoff Award winner Marvin Harrison Jr., is being offered somewhere near $20 million in NIL. Who the hell is paying that? What do you expect from that? Now, granted, you know me. If you do know me, a lot of you are getting to know me. I'm not one of these quarterback is the be all end all, because you can have a quarterback like, say, Jaden Daniels, and then you have a defense like LSU's, and you're not playing for any titles. You're not winning the SEC West. So when you're talking about dumping this money on a wide receiver who is dependent on that quarterback getting him the ball, who could be offering this? Now, my first instinct would be to think a SEC school. Like, I don't think that Ohio State is necessarily trying to pay him $20 million to stay. But looking at this, looking at the NFL draft this past year, it looks as though, and this is from NBC Sports Philadelphia, the number one draft pick was estimated to get 41.2 million in this past draft. So Marvin Harrison's looking at potentially getting half of that to stay in college another year. But the problem with that is he is going to be a top 5 pick. So even if we bottom it out and go to number 5, the number 5 pick was estimated to get 34.5 million this year. So if I'm Marvin Harrison, thank you, but no thank you. I'm going to the NFL. I'm going to make my money, and I'm going to get from under this hierarchy and control that we call college football, where some coach or, these guys with egos are making my decisions for me, are I don't have a voice to some degree. Whereas in the NFL, you're going to get paid depending on where you go. I mean, looking at this in the draft, you got Chicago up there, you got Arizona up there. So as I'm looking at this, could you end up in Arizona with Justin Fields? I know some people say Caleb Williams. I know you could end up in Arizona with, say, Kyler Murray versus coming back to Ohio State and, play with who? Maybe Cam Ward. Now that Cal McCord's gone, go to some SEC school, and there's not even a chance. I mean, there's not a guarantee that you're going to make a playoff, get to a national title game, or for that matter, beat Michigan. So I don't know, but the money is flying. What do you think? If you were Marvin Harrison Jr. and you could stay in college and make this 20 million or go to the NFL, what are you choosing?